IVM.
You know, Ankur, I thought my bank was really good, thought as in past tense, because Jupiter has just landed on Earth on my phone and changed my entire life. Jupiter is the digital banking app you've been waiting for. No pesky paperwork, no endless lines. Just create an account in just a couple of taps and you're good to go. Tap, tap. Banking at your convenience, not the banks. Plus, the app offers fantastic rewards. Where the hell has Jupiter been the whole time? Visit the Jupiter.money website to find out more. Download the Jupiter app on Android and iOS to get started.
कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen yaar, don't be so conservative.
Welcome to Cyrus Says, brought to you by Jupiter, a banking app that helps you master your money. By God, I swear this is true. And before I get into my lovely guest, and this is a phenomenal guest because this is completely from left field, something you couldn't have imagined. I'm very happy to have someone who we have no idea about this whole area. So it's going to be great fun to talk to him. But before we get him on, and I thought this has a link towards him because I found a weapon of mass destruction of my own right now to protect myself. You know, while driving, with road rage and misbehaving and Swiggy guys coming up there, one ways on their scooters. I have got my old caddy. I found it, catapult. I got the old caddy. It's still working with a little leatherish front thing where you put the small patthar in and you do takak like that. So I've got that. It's in the back of my car, in the dicky, with two very small stones that won't hurt anyone, but should be able to just scare them off, the perpetrators who attack me wildly and crazily on the streets of Mumbai. And this includes all those horrible guys who make us move to the side when the great chief minister is coming in, or the other ministers are coming or going in Walkeshwar.
Working Monday to Friday glued to your chair making you feel dull? Worry not. Get your 5-minute weekly dose of travel around the world with postcards from nowhere. Join me every Thursday as I explore the strange, obscure and fascinating parts of the world and bring out facets of travel you may not have thought of before. You can find us on the IVM Podcast app, website or wherever you get your podcast from.
My guest, of course, is slightly related to that field, but far higher grade. Let's talk to him. Let's introduce him. His name is Ankur Naik. Ankur, welcome to the show, first and foremost. Thank you so much for coming. I'm a little scared because you're a very powerful person. Once I tell everybody who you are exactly. A former squadron leader, Air Force pilot, and ex-ADC to no less than presidents of this wonderful country of ours, APJ Abdul Kalam and Pratibha Patil. Okay, he's also obviously interacted with the heads of states from all over. We'll get into that. We'll do as much as we can in the conversation. But I mean, this is phenomenal. And just very quickly, before we go into the question and answer session, Ankur, your background also is fabulous. I mean, very interesting. That you actually did an LLB. Is this true, from FM University recently?
Yeah. I came to know that you haven't finished, so I did that part for you.
Thank you, sir. Well done. So together, एक साथ हम कर सकते हैं law. Our firm, Naik and Brocha, between us, we can do it. 4 years of that.
Definitely.
And you also worked in the Indian Institute of Human Rights, New Delhi, ICFAI Business School, Hyderabad, National, okay, that obviously NDA. But it's quite a different, not just military background. There's all kinds of things going on. So how do you have time firstly to do all this?
So time management is something which the military teaches us automatically. And all these courses I did while I was in the services. And so basically burning midnight oils while you were recording, I was studying.
I wish you would come and do a crash course for IVM. Okay, when you say time management straight away, I think you should. In fact, most people in Mumbai city, perhaps most of India, but definitely Mumbai city, when it comes to time management. And you're saying that while you're in the military with enough pressure and anxiety trying to get through whatever you're getting through there, and there's high pressure there because it's all about performance on a daily basis, you still had time to get law degrees and business degrees and doing all this on the side. Very scary. Unbelievable. Obviously, highly ambitious and intelligent. But now let's come to the main question. Explain to us how one gets into before you become a squadron leader, how do you get into the Air Force? How do you give us the background a little bit?
So Air Force is very easy. You just get some good marks in class 12th. You crack the National Defence Academy exam, which just about 1 million people take it every year. You come to the merit, clear some easy medicals wherein they check
1 million take it? Or kitna space hai? Kitna places that?
Around 300 to 350 make it to the academy. And in one course, around 300 pass out. And when I became a fighter pilot, around 30 of us became fighter pilots. So
My
that
God,
is the ratio.
1 million. Just now I understand when people come to Mumbai to become stars and enter Bollywood with no influence, no network, no chance, no talent, they still have a better chance than most people have of becoming fighter pilots. Because clearly only 30 or 40 make the grade. So obviously it's a very,
Because
very strict. Yeah.
I should tell you, there is one test called the pilot aptitude battery test. That is only once in your lifetime. So अभी आपको बिठा देंगे screen के सामने. Do it now. If you pass, you become a military aviator. Otherwise, forget in this lifetime. You have to take birth again and again and again.
Just vaguely, what is that test about?
It's about how the aircraft behaves and functions, and you have to manage
They
those
put you in
functions on a
situations with
computer.
the aircraft. They simulate that and you have to then deliver.
Something like that, yeah.
But how do you know you? This is a mean question to ask, I suppose, because I don't know if anyone can answer it. It's like net practice in cricket. You can be really good, and then when you're actually playing a match condition, a guy is freezing totally. So how do you actually distinguish between on a test? Because a test is never the flying condition that you'll face facing the enemy or in a war-like condition. How do you get that? How do you know for sure?
So basically, that is your instinct. That is your internal skill, whether it is available or not. So you can be trained to pick up a fast delivery after 10 deliveries. There's something which should come to you instinctively. So if while you're telling me you were driving a car on whatever Varkeshwar beach and all those, somebody coming in the other side also has a catapult to hit you, and you tuck it, when it's required. That is what the skill they are looking at. That cannot be something, that cannot be trained. So that is what it is.
So when did the young Ankur know that this is for him? I mean, do you have a military background? Or do you because we all love planes growing up, we all love the military growing up, but at some point we, back off.
Yeah, so my father was also in the Air Force, so that came naturally. But my idol was Wing Commander Sharma when he went into the space. So I also always wanted to be an astronaut. So one way of becoming an astronaut was, of course, to become a fighter pilot. That is how that dream pursued.
Second way is to join Elon Musk.
Well, second way was to become an exobiologist. It's something you learn about, extraterrestrial organisms in the world. Well, I tried my hand at it, but that didn't work out. So this was the easier way to get.
Wow, fighter pilot. Okay, now tell us. So, what is how long is the squadron leader, and how do you become squadron leader? Obviously, it's not that easy. There's a step-by-step process.
Yeah, so basically in the Air Force, you become squadron leader by time and by your experience. So you become squadron leader at the age service of 6 years. After 6 years of your service in the Air Force, you become a squadron leader. Before that, you get commissioned as a flying officer. You become a flight lieutenant, squadron leader, and you get promoted and you get more ranks and higher ranks. So that is how it is.
I don't know whether you're going to be able to answer, but can you tell us about any missions that you've done or any? I would love to know just what it actually feels like. It's like a Miss India question, when they come on stage and say, I feel great about the environment and all. But I'm just trying to think what goes through somebody's mind when they're in that machine alone and, in a position of danger or having to be the aggressor, which can be equally bad.
Well, I can't tell you about the live missions. For that, I have to kill you if I have to tell you. But
that will be so easy. Don't bother flying the plane.
But just to give an example of the thrill, on ground, you must be having the most luxurious car. Maybe you must have done a 200 kilometers per hour max, or maybe 250.
180 to touch kiya, Mumbai-Pune highway. If the law doesn't catch up with us. 180 I have touched. And that was scary, huh?
So in the aircraft, when we are doing low-level flying, we fly at around 900 kilometers per hour, which is around 250 meters per second. And we fly at around 50 meters above the ground level. So if you think for 1 second, if you think for 1 second that whether I'm flying right or wrong, you will be underground by how many? 200 meters per second, 200 meters below ground. So 1 second is the gap which is allowed for you to think whether I'm flying right or wrong or whatever. And in that speed, you have to look out for birds, obstructions, enemy aircraft. You have to deliver the bomb on target, look out for your friends and foes, and do all those funny things in there. And of course, manage those gadgets and machinery, look at the radar, all those things together.
But I mean, Ankur, you're talking like it's so like every day for you, but I'm just thinking this, A, it's scary. B, I mean, just the pressure that anything can go wrong slightly and what you've described. I mean, normally in your job, you get a bad look from the boss or something. I mean, this is ridiculous what you're saying. I mean, weren't you scared? Honestly, tell us, what do you guys think when you...
So honestly, if you have time to be scared, then you're not fit enough to fly. You cannot be scared and you can fly into an enemy territory or doing some exercises where you're supposed to be 100% on the job. There is no time to be scared there. It is when I tell you, Cyrus, look right, you just blindly look right. You don't think. Because I'm telling you, there's an adversary who's coming to fire upon you, or there's a tree on your right which you want to kiss and hug, your wish. But if you don't turn now, you're dead, my friend. So scarcity, not scarcity actually. Being scared is not an option. That is drilled into us during our training, of course. And we are all humans. Of course, we feel anxiety. We feel anxious about when we do our first flight, or first solo, when there is nobody else sitting next to you. But that is something a part of a training.
But I was thinking, how do you have a normal life? I mean, the wildest things I've done bungee jumping. I have seen a lion kill. I have been attacked by people physically, all that. But, it's not in the range of the adrenaline rush that you are getting.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, how do you have a normal, because nothing will interest you. You're flying low level like that at full pace with all this pressure. You have to hit targets, avoid things. And then what do you do for fun? I mean, there's nothing will compare to that. How will a young Ankur get, on a Sunday? What will he do here?
Very sadly, when I used to drive a car after flying a plane, I used to always feel, why is the world so slow?
Yeah. What a letdown.
Luckily, those times they were not, the roads were not having all these speed cameras and all that. So we could zoom past on our bikes or do some funny activities altogether. But yes, the world is slow. When you do a sortie and you come down, the world is very, very slow for you. Definitely.
Can I ask you a slightly personal question? Why do women find fighter pilots? And I'm hearing what you are saying. I find men will find it very interesting and obviously idolize you very easily because you've got this great glamour life and all, plus the thrill, like James Bond sort of lifestyle and the thrill and the chills every day. But why is it that women find you guys so attractive? And is it so? Is it true?
We are all badasses. There's a good joke.
Sarji?
There is. वो आपके पास आके बताऊंगा मैं लेकिन there's a good joke going on in the bar when somebody says that how do you know that he's a fighter pilot in a bar full of women, so the answer is the guy will tell you himself. We are rash, we are brutish, we are arrogant.
Rightly so. It's like Muhammad Ali. If you're that good or whatever, you have every right. I have no problem. It's only terrible when you don't have the talent and you talk about things. That's what our show is all about. But let's get back to this. It's a fascinating life that you're leading and have led. We want to get into the whole, ADC thing, which is, of course, another level altogether. But first, tell us, so then, what is the graph? You're a squadron leader. Then what happens next?
So in the flying squad, typically you become a squadron leader, then you become a wing commander. You command the squadron. Squadron is basically comprises of men and machines, which in our case is aircrafts. We call them birds. Then you become a group captain, air commodore. You start doing strategic, tactical activities. And if you're good enough, you become the air chief marshal.
Wow. Okay. Well, just coming back to the birds reference, I'm just thinking for a second that could cause some confusion as well. I'm sure, especially when you have messages on your phone or and they're not sure what they're talking about. One could be mistaken for the other. Also dangerous. Birds are also dangerous. Huh.
Just to add to it, the aircrafts are always feminine gender. So when we pass on controls, we say you got her. That may give you some more questions to ask.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking if we can go on the double entendre route and all this for 20 minutes, because you go inside the plane, you're flying the plane, you're on top of the plane, you're attacking another plane. My God. You boys have a good time just talking amongst yourselves, laugh, if I can imagine. Yes. That's a great thing. So, you're still a naughty boy at heart, flying a dangerous mission. Growing up, we've seen some of these war films, and they always have this glamour element to the fighter pilot, especially. He's like the number 3 or number 4 batsman in a team, or, number 10 footballer, shirt number 10 footballer, jersey number 10. You're like the star. I think deep down, I suppose you don't want to talk about it too much, but deep down, I think that's the position everybody wants, because you're always going to be the star in the business. Then now can we just transition quickly to the second side, which is the ADC? So how did you get into that bit, and then we'll get into the presidents?
So what happens is the president has 5 ADCs, 3 from the army, 1 from the air force, and 1 from the navy. ADC is a word which is taken from the French word called aide de camp, which means staff officer to senior officer. So the selection process is very easy. You have to be outstanding in whatever you do in your service and professional life.
Ankur bhai, zindabad. Just be frank.
So you have to take some 10-11 round of interviews and vivas and a drill test. And finally, the president interviews you. And if he or she likes you, you become the ADC. So when I was
they need the final say.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, sorry.
So when I was the ADC, I was the 25th Air Force officer to represent the president. So we represent the entire Air Force to the president. So we are in the ceremonial capacity, we represent the president. So that is how we are selected. Story behind the ADC. How the ADC thing happened, which will give you a little mirchi for your episode as well. So ADCs used to be prospective grooms for the kings. So the kings used to choose their own ADCs from neighboring kingdoms who could actually take over their own kingdom and rule. So they used to choose some 5-6 ADCs from different kingdoms. They used to be all their Rajkumars or princes from other kingdoms who would be ultimately good enough to marry their own daughters and see them for 1 year, 2 years time. And jo acha lage, then they get married and they would ultimately be the successor of that particular king. When the army started increasing, this same tradition used to be passed on to generals who used to visit camps. So now you know the AD camp word. So camp used to be those tents across rivers wherein the best officer of that particular camp used to be given to that particular general when he was visiting that camp so that he can take care of him, show him around, tell him the battle, what is happening, progress of the battle. He has to be the best.
But no marrying into the family. No marrying into the family.
Not with the generals' families.
So
that is how this tradition continued, and now most of the Commonwealth nations wherein the British tradition followed, the presidents and the generals and the marshals have their own ADCs. That is how the ADC tradition continues.
Okay, so now tell us, once they selected you, firstly, obviously there must be a lot of candidates and all that. Do you remember what was the kind of conversation you had to have with the president? I think it was APJ Abdul Kalam, the first round, when you face to face for the first time. What did he ask you when you were applying?
He wanted to. So basically, it was the last round. It was the last day of us in Rashtrapati Bhavan, and straight from a cockpit of a fighter plane to Rashtrapati Bhavan is a huge change. 340 room British era, colonial infrastructure,
and on land.
On land, and you're overawed by the entire jing bang happening there. 1,000 people working left, right, and center. People in uniforms and glaze and glamour. And this was a simpleton guy sitting on his chair, and he asked me about myself, my family, and what am I flying. And you know that he himself wanted to be a fighter pilot, and he didn't make it.
President Kalam.
Yeah, he wanted to be a fighter pilot. He did not make it. He got rejected from the services selection board. So he had the thing that, you are going to miss your flying. Why are you coming here? You're a fighter pilot. As I said, that is a ceremonial post. I get to serve the best president ever. And then he asked very normal questions. He wanted to basically know whether I would be comfortable in this entire surrounding or not. And he said, okay, good. I would love to see you again. That was it.
Wow. But so let's get into it a little bit then. So what was the actual duty? I mean, we understand the ceremonial side of it, and obviously they need to be seen with these, robust, and we've seen this in TV pictures and all the time. The security is very, robust and strong and all that, and you have to have a sharp guy in charge and all that. But what actually do you have to do? Because it's very complicated.
So actually, we are not physically responsible for the security. There are thousands of agencies doing that. We are supposed to coordinate it and ensure that everything is on place. More details, of course, I can't share with you on the screen. But of course, we are responsible for all the administration, all the protocol, or the functions, or the tours and travels. Just to give an example, anything and everything, including the president's family, if they have to catch up with the president, it goes through us. Every piece of paper, every piece of
even the president's family.
Yes. When he is in office, of course. When he's in office, of course, in their quarters, of course, they can catch up and hug and all. But in the office, of course, they go through us.
Ankur, can you do me a favor? See, where I live, we have the chief minister and all these mantris and all. Sayadri is right there. Varsha is right here. And what happens is they drive me mad every day with their stopping the traffic to have these guys go up and down all the time. I have these ridiculous 15, 20 cars behind waving their hands like elephants saying, side pe ja and all that. Do you have any influence? Can you talk to them? It's very irritating here. Because nobody in my area has any political consciousness. They don't know who these guys are. They're wasting their time. There's no threat from Malabar Hill to any mantri in the whole country.
Yeah. So what we did was, you would be happy to know what we did was, initially the protocol used to be that the route used to be put long ago before even the convoy used to be passed. So the messages passed were that the route will not be stopped more than 3 minutes. At least in Delhi and wherever the president moves now, I'm sure the route is not stopped for more than 3 minutes. It is all cleared. In fact, the traffic is generally moving.
I don't know if you're going to clarify this part, but I heard they use decoys a lot, and this fake information of this route and that route and all, so that people are not sure how the president will travel or exactly where he'll travel from, or simultaneously 2 convoys will go. Is this all actually done, or is that just like spy drama that we hear about?
Something like that. I will leave it to that. Something like that is done.
But this is all your coordination, I'm thinking. This strategic planning of how and what is you. The actual physical bodyguards are different people standing around, I understand, but all this planning comes from you. So
this is just one part of it,
I can, yeah, but let's understand a little bit whatever you can tell us. So, if there are threats coming, for example, okay, how will Ankur decide what is real and credible? Because I can imagine there are so many jokers in our country and outside countries who are just trying to have fun thanks to internet. For them, it's fun. How do you assess कि ये real threat है and this is just bakwas?
Our agencies are very, very credible. Unless and until it is an absolute credible threat, the message may not be even passed to us. So as a responsible part of the function, I can just cancel the movement of the president. Very easy. I will just cancel it, which has happened in the past. So we have just cancelled the function.
So you can overrule that entire function, literally. You can say it's just not worth it. And that's it. And nobody questions you after that.
No, nobody. So
it's my word. Can't say, yeah,
it's my word. If I have taken a call, then it will never happen.
So
and it is not only for the security part. It's not only for the security part. If there is any other function which has a protocol problem or administrative problem, something like that, and we feel that it's not worth going and taking that trouble, then we will cancel that.
So now, technically speaking, and I mean this with great respect to the office of the president, technically speaking, Ankur Naik is then the most powerful person for a few minutes in India because he has decided what will happen or what will not happen with the most powerful person in the country.
Not really me alone. There's a team which decides all these things. It's not only me. It's the biggest office which needs to take everybody in confidence why the function is being cancelled. What is the reason behind it? Because a lot of preparation also goes for that function. We also take that into mind. There are a lot of emotions behind that function. There is a national cause why that function is happening. So if it is not absolutely necessary for the function to not happen,
I would never want your job. I'm telling you honestly, I can't think in our country. Forget the president. In the building of 8 flats, we can't get along without arguing about every little thing. I can imagine you are coordinating so many things with the most responsible and most important figurehead of the country. And it must have been thankless. I mean, you wouldn't sleep for more than 5 minutes. But let's just talk about him personally for a second, especially President Kalam, who was like the people's president, very popular, very liked, very out there. Unlike our previous presidents, this guy was seen. We suddenly realized the office of president was there and all that. So was the relationship formal or informal? Because that's a tough one for him. I mean, with you, seeing you on a daily basis, etc. How would it have been?
See, it has to be like a shadow. If he does not trust us, this particular tenure of ADC does not work well. So we actually talk in sign languages. So we look at him or he looks at us and we know what is to be done next. So if you're in an appointment and you're taking too much of a time and he does not like you, if he looks at me, I know that I will tell Cyrus, let's go. It's time for the next appointment.
It's a perfect example to give. Very credible. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But I just want to know, is there any time when he's a little, because after some time, I mean, he was looking at a 4-year term and more, then is there any point where he called you by first name and, it's more like, there's no hierarchy anymore where he's talking to you like a family member. Does it get like that? Yeah, there's a distance there.
No. So with the president, it is, I will not say like a family, it's a family. So that bond carries on with their sons, their daughters, their granddaughters, and forever. So he or she actually calls us by the first name, always.
And would he be interested in Ankur's life? Would he also be asking you about your life?
Yeah, absolutely. He knew everything. He knew everything about me. Absolutely.
And could you talk to him about foreign policy, government issues? Could you talk to him about stuff which is basically controversial, let's say?
Of course. So they also ask us for our advices because they should be aware if we are going for a function, what is our advice, what is our outlook about this particular function. And with Dr. Kalam, it was even more because he was a fantastic scientific person. And with a guy like me, whom he wanted to be, he would always make sure that I know more than him, if not equal.
Wow, that was excellent. So let's move quickly to Pratibha Patil. We'll run out of time otherwise. Also, we need to get Silvery in after the break. So now you've been with Dr. Kalam, and then now you're still there, and we have the next president coming, and now you're dealing with a lady president for the first time. The dynamics must have been a little different, right? Completely.
Very, very different because he was the first bachelor president, and Mrs. Patil was the first female president of India, and those protocols were not set for a lady to be a president. I mean, protocols were always there, but how to deal with it was a big thing amongst ourselves, what to do. And the ominous task was put on me because I happened to be a Marathi speaker and she happened to be a Marathi speaker as well. That was just by chance. I put across all our points and all our things. She said, just follow the protocol which is supposed to be. I don't want anything special. I don't want anything different. Follow what is the presidential norm. Just follow it that way. And she made our life easier than the other way around.
So again, they would go out of their way to be informal and relax you out in your job and say like, boss,
Yes.
we're all one team here. Because I can
Yes.
imagine the pressure of standing with the most important person in the country, so to speak, every day.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
and
It has to be. It's two ways. Yeah, it's two ways. Absolutely.
did you eat with them? Would you be allowed to eat with the president? I mean, would they break?
Yeah. Very,
Like
very,
you-
very, yeah.
so
if it's a routine, if it's not out of the routine, or maybe when we are traveling and we are sitting somewhere together, we would eat with them. That's not a problem.
Wow, excellent. Let's quickly get into some of the other heads of states, because obviously once you're guarding a very big country like India as head of state, you're going to meet the ones who come to visit. So from what we've gathered, you had Barack Obama himself came down in one tenure of yours?
Yeah, I had Barack Obama. I had almost some 80, 90 heads of states coming in, including
Wow.
Barack Obama.
So is that competitive then? Do you have to deal with their guys? Because I know that he brought his own plane or something and landed somewhere else when he was in Mumbai at least, and they did their own screening of the Taj Mahal hotel with their own guys, etc., etc. So how does that work?
So the thing is, there is a policy set by the Ministry of External Affairs. What all facilities will be given to the visiting country head?
And who pays?
It all differs from. Well, that's also set. A particular component is paid by the host country, and the rest of it is paid by the visiting country. That things are all set up by the Ministry of External Affairs. So every country has their different protocols, which is being briefed to us, what to let them do and what to not let them do. And we ensure that happens to the hilt. Because Rashtrapati Bhavan is a zero error syndrome. There is no way you can even think of having an error there.
Yeah, but did you get to actually interact with these heads of state yourself?
Yeah. Just like
the ADCs from this?
No, just like I'm talking to you, I have talked with almost all of them.
Wow. And so give us a little bit about a couple of them. I know we don't have time to go through everybody, but Obama comes to mind as a very good sort of ambassador, diplomat sort of guy. What would you have said to him? What was the relationship with our president?
So basically what we do is when these heads of state come, so one of the ADCs is actually attached to them. Yesteryears used to be them 24 hours, but now formalities have changed. People have their own secret things to do, so they don't want another country's, especially a serving officer, joining them and all those things. But whenever we get time, when we are with them, we brief them about the function. We ask them about if they want to know any more information about us or the function or the country or any function which is going around. So he was very kind enough. He of course respects military people a lot. He asked me about what aircraft I'm flying, how long I've been here, my family, of course. Yeah.
So that's the formal side. Anything informal as well?
He asked me what is there to eat. I know you're not going to give me a drink here. So I said, yes, Rashtrapati does not give you a drink, but I'm sure the food is to your liking.
There's no alcohol?
There's no alcohol in Rashtrapati, yes.
But why? Why? When the visiting dignitary comes, why do we have that problem?
Well, that's a tradition in the Rashtrapati. That is how we follow it.
But I mean, you're an Air Force pilot. It comes in the territory, does it not?
Not really. It doesn't matter. That's a head of state function, and the president is hosting the other president. Right. It's their function. It's a national function where we have decided as a country not to serve alcohol. So that is how we follow it.
Wow. So can you, I know again, it's difficult to get you to answer these because they're politically incorrect things for you to say, but was there ever a time where you had to deal with, I'm sure there was, but one you could tell us, deal with a situation where you had to make sure there was no diplomatic incident or some misunderstanding?
No, I will tell
language
you.
issue.
I will tell you a funny incident. I will not tell the name of the president. But this was a president who's very well recognized in the world today. He speaks some 7-8 languages. He understands English very well, but generally speaks on his own mother tongue. So he was coming to Rashtrapati Bhavan and he had a meeting with Dr. Kalam. And his wife was supposed to travel on a different convoy. So their timing was supposed to match. So let's say the meeting started at 7:30, 7:25. Both of them are supposed to reach in different convoys to Rashtrapati Bhavan. So this president reached a minute earlier or so. And so then how we do it is, we take a longer route or we stop him somewhere, show him a painting. Sir, 1776 ka painting hai. These stairs are like this was like this. And we match that time so both of them reached together. So this lady was running late. One of the ADCs got a call on the headsets that the lady is running late. So ensure that he walks a little slow so that you match up and then you take them to the meeting room with the president together. And while I'm doing this delay, he understands that they are also thoroughbred. They understand why all this is happening. So he started asking me about what is happening in life, how is the function going, what do you think about our country's relations, etc., etc. And I'm now trying to match up. I see our president going into the meeting room, and I get a call on my side that the ladies also arrived. So I stop him outside the room and I tell him, "Sir, the ladies also arrived. We'll walk in together." He said, "All right." And he looks at the lady and he tells me, "Sir, one wife is more than enough. This is not my wife." So he walks in. That was not his wife. That was somebody else of the delegation. And then the wife walked in around 5 minutes later. but that was all in all in good spirit. So these kind of things are very, very normal. So that is.
And you were saying the which country president was he?
I can't tell you.
Can you rhyme the country? Kuch to batao. There must be some hint you can give us. Is it in the southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere?
Well. Northern hemisphere is good enough for you.
Okay. We'll try. We still have half the show left. We'll try and get it out of you without causing trouble. I know you've been very nice giving us information and yet being diplomatic. It's a perfect balance, but you're a fighter pilot. And that's all about balance, is it not? Flying in between this and that, getting your angles correct. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're with Ankur Naik himself. ADC to presidents. I don't think you go any higher than that, except becoming the president yourself. We'll come back and talk to him in a second. But first, I have to quickly, before we go into our Jupiter money break, tell you a little story which I've just written. It goes like this. We are here with the one and only Ankur Naik himself, who's been kind enough to talk to us about a world we don't know anything about, but we have all kinds of strange ideas because of spy novels and stories and thrillers and Netflix and Bollywood, etc., etc. He's going to clear the air, and we'll also ask him some more questions when we come back. But first, a quick Jupiter money break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On IVM Like, Snehal, Antriksh and Abbas give us a Star Wars special. Tune in if you'd like the Force to be with you. On Cyrus Says is Cock and Bull, Cyrus is joined by Shreya, Sriram and Antriksh. They discuss the heat wave and electricity outages due to the coal shortage in India. On The Longest Constitution, Priya looks into constitutional provisions that govern an MP or MLA's accountability. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth sheds light on the creator economy and how influencers make money. And on Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav links taboo foods, Hindu epics, and dharma in an interesting tale. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're following this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is one of our biggest, most helpful things you can do for us. We'd really appreciate that. And also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. Go check out ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. You get a list of all of our YouTube channels there. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and the advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. This really helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week, SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app.
Yeah, in case you've just joined in, we are talking to Squadron Leader and Super Fighter Pilot. As he mentioned at the top of the show, please rewind and watch if you've just joined in. It's not easy. 30 or 40 people make it through out of God knows how many, a million or more. So it's like ridiculously high. I mean, Silvery, by the way, this is Silvery, also known as Antariksh. He wanted to be an Air Force pilot,
evening, sir.
But he's scared of heights.
How are you doing?
Bolo, problem
yes,
bolo.
correct. I was very scared of heights, and I actually
fell out of the first
made
floor,
it to the
remember?
first round of the NDA, and they were like, no, that's not going to happen because you can't go up in the air. None of that is true. I just made that up. But okay.
First round of the NDA. Ankur, let's clear this. What about the vision issue? In the old days, you would not be allowed to try also, right? If you had glasses.
No, even now, it's the same. You're not allowed with the glasses.
That's sad. But you could be a fantastic pilot, but glasses make your eyes okay, right? So why? I don't understand why that's a problem in actuality.
And nowadays, you can get LASIK and all also, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So they don't want artificial things put into your natural activities.
So how do you stand on that?
That's great. Great phrasing.
Sir, you're on the wrong show. We should be discussing presidents. We should be helping people with their sex lives. Yeah. What the hell are we doing? Okay.
Ankur, do you plan to write a book? Because all of this stuff is just so fascinating. Have you ever thought of writing a book or making something else out of all your experiences?
Yes, as they say, every man has a book behind it. But I don't know when I will write it.
But Ankur, if you don't mind, how will you reveal everything, yaar? Because you can't, right? I mean,
but then you'll have to kill them. You can reveal it, but then you have to kill everyone who reads your book.
I'll put some cyanide in
James Bond. Yes, correct.
Just while I'm on that subject, do you stay in touch with the two presidents you've served? Do you stay in touch with them? Can you actually talk to them whenever you feel like it, that kind of thing?
Yes. With Dr. Kalam, I was with him till a week before he died, unfortunately. I had met him just a week before he had passed away in Shillong. And with Ms. Pratibha Patil, I am in touch till date. I am.
Wow.
So these are proper relationships. This is not just coming and, working with a person on a project and that's it and over. Not like you and me, Silvery. This is a deep, proper
Cyrus.
relationship between people.
Yeah, we need to have a better relationship off screen.
Let's go on a flight together. That will cement our bond as far as we're concerned. Okay.
Absolutely.
Chalo, your turn. What do you want to ask?
So quite a few things, sir. What is broadly like someone like who is the ADC to the president? What goes on for like a typical day? What's a typical day like? What time do you wake up? What time do you report? How does all that work?
So all these things are planned. The president's schedule is planned around if not 6 months in advance, mostly. Okay, the broad time schedule is planned 6 months in advance. If there is something which is to be changed, it gets changed in a week, or if something very urgent, then maybe a night prior. So a typical day for us starts at around 5 o'clock in the morning, wherein, of course, we, if the president is keen to do a walk, we do a walk with the president. If or she is not a morning person, then we do our own physical activities because we need to be fit for obvious reasons. Generally, the schedule starts with appointments in the morning or functions. And then if there are tours and programs which are either outside the president's house or outside the town or outside the country, those programs are matched. So most of our tours used to happen on weekdays, on weekends, because then is where most of the crowd will come. And we do not trouble people like Cyrus on the roads where they're traveling around. So we made it a point that we travel on weekends so that there are no traffic jams.
Wow. So you're very aware of all the things Cyrus talks about on the show. Nice.
And also we used to plan movement during non-traffic hours. So we would generally take out the convoy maybe 11 o'clock or 11:30 or so, which is during lunchtime, and come back also maybe late in the night or something like that. So to answer your question, we are well aware of the problems. We take care of it. So general day is basically fixed with these programs and schedules, appointments, different activities.
So no days off. What if you want to take a day off?
No. It's a 24-hour duty.
Also, I think there's a trust bond that between the president and him, which will happen after which they basically, you trust only a small circle of people. So I'm presuming that if he's not there, they start getting worried. It's like that. So then you don't have a choice. It's a bit like me and my wife. I'm just kidding. Not at all. But getting back to the relationships with the presidents, when you go abroad, what happens? When you travel, what happens? Somebody else takes over?
No. So we only travel. We travel all the time. We travel. Whether it's abroad or outside the room or outside the city or outside the country, we travel always. Even there, it's the same duty. In fact, it's more hectic. People think that we are actually visiting monuments and doing darshans and all those things. It is not the case, Cyrus. I'll tell you, I've traveled around maybe 24 countries with them. I don't remember a single monument that I've enjoyed looking at or something like that. It's a 24-hour activity. For us, it's basically a duty all the time. Even for the presidents, actually.
Supposing you're going to, let's say, Sweden, do you have to go earlier and see the country and see the areas you're going to and all that? You have to do all recce's and all that?
So for India and for Delhi, we do that. For foreign countries, the MEA people do it for us. Okay. Because they have a local report. Yeah.
Okay. All right. May I ask, what weapon did you carry on your person, but in case of a emergency?
So that rule was there in 1970s. Now we don't carry a weapon on us.
अगर कुछ हुआ तो क्या करेगा फिर? My catapult you want?
बहुत सारे.
So actually no weapon on you.
Yeah, no weapon on you. Yeah.
No weapon on me. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
But what about other security personnel? There must be security personnel with like heavy weaponry as well.
Yeah, huge. That's a different ball game altogether.
But they are not that close.
Yeah, sure.
I had one interaction with Bill Clinton in Barcelona many years ago when we were doing something for UNAIDS. And I went to the toilet, and when he had made his entry, and he apparently also wanted to come to the toilet. So the entire urinal was empty, and I was in there. And then these bodyguards came in, all these 7-foot looking guys like we see in TV with those walkie-talkies in their suits. And they came and stood back to me and covered this thing. And, then he went to the urinal nearby and did his thing or whatever. They were very intimidating. But I didn't see any weapons on them. I don't remember asking whether I asked or not, but I could not see visibly any weapons on them. They were dressed in some sort of suits, better suits, than just our normal safari ones, but not exactly. I couldn't tell. So is that part of the deal that you have to try and conceal the weapon? Or I was just wondering, they should have had something.
There are people who do that. There are security arrangements made from country to country based on threat perception, etc. But our president is well covered.
Okay, well, right. So also one last thing is, I know that the American president at least gets some combat training, if you were. Like, I think they learn how to, at least like basic, or like you shoot a gun or something, if I'm not wrong. Is that at all required? Like for the
I don't
Indians?
think so. I don't think so.
You
It's
don't think
required
so?
for any president in the world.
Oh, okay.
If the
Then I must have
president is
read-
left
must be
to
wrong.
if the president is left to defend himself or herself, then
No,
What's the
there's
point?
there's one or two presidents. I know who he's talking about. Our
Yeah.
Russian president Putin, for example, who likes to fight for himself. There are a couple of these slightly macho alpha male presidents who go around, and I'm sure they do know how to use guns and martial arts training, etc. So I get your point, but you're not supposed to train anyone to defend themselves. That's not obviously part of the deal.
no, not really.
Yeah. I mean, we could save money though. I've thought about this a lot. If all our mantris, maybe president deserves some sort of respect. He's a huge head of state. As you go down, I'm thinking, they should be just given karate training. It should not be more than that. Yeah, really, honestly. Then to have 20 cars following, kaun hai ye local MLA? Kahan se pata nahi? VIP hai. These are typical answers we get from the people, the police and all is that. They also don't have enough information. It's always the same thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do feel that security is too symbolic and too much for everyone. Why is it that the Europeans don't manage? They go shopping on their own and all, but our guys need 2,000 people to follow.
I will tell you that every problem is because of the population. What is the population of Europe? What is the population of Vikhroli?
It's
Just
about
compare.
Dharavi, basically.
Yes.
Vikhroli.
Exactly. That is the answer.
very true.
That is the answer.
Yeah. Maybe I guess so. I don't know, but I feel really sad that they don't go and do their shopping on their own. If they are servant of the people, they should also work like us. Why are they just standing there and sending? Okay, let's get back to the two presidents before we go into the questions. So, personality-wise, can you describe them? How were they? Because we will never know. None of us are ever going to interact with them. If you had to describe them, how would you describe first, say, Dr. Kalam and then Pratibha Patil ji as well?
So Dr. Kalam was always a scientific person, more scientific person, more workaholic person, and more scientific bent of mind. So I will tell you one story. When I sat with him in the car first time, which was itself a very big moment for me, because looking at Dr. Kalam is the supreme commander of the armed forces and the president of India as well. Yes, you feel a little intimidated and all those things. And he knew that I would be a little nervous sitting with him first time and all that. So he made me easy, and then he thought, okay, let me show him my true colors. So he said, okay, what do you fly? So I said, MiG-21s. He said, what am I famous for? I said, yes, sir. What for? So you are the missile man, not the Mikhail man. You are, huh, Cyrus?
No, well
missile
done,
man.
sir. Research करके आए सर जी. No wonder you're
Wow.
ADC है not some बड़ी बात है
So
भाई. This is not some
impressive.
small.
Wow.
You have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Silvery, he knows how many cars
Exactly,
you
yeah.
have. He knows which
Exactly,
family
yeah,
member goes
yeah.
to which office.
God damn.
Don't take panga. Do not take panga, because one phone call
Wow.
and somebody will be missing. It's like that.
This is
I do
very impressive. Yeah,
cybersecurity.
that is very-
I do cybersecurity, which I'll tell you about later. Huh?
Wow.
So he asked me, about missiles? I said, yes. Have you fired any one of them? I said, not the ones you have made. He said, how do missiles leave Earth? I said, sir, because of escape velocity. He said, what is escape velocity? I said, it's 11.2 km per second. What is the formula? So I said, this is the formula. He said, okay, what happens when it reaches troposphere? And he continued for 20 minutes till the time we reached the place. Okay. Then he asked me a question which I could not answer. And he said, Baba, you need to study more. If you want to know more in life, you need to study more. I said, yes, sir. And the same
competitive,
day,
huh?
very, 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 very. Because he wanted you to know more. And then the next day when we are coming back, which is our duty, we are supposed to brief him about the next day function. So there was a function about the best heart specialists of the world. They were all getting together in Rashtrapati Bhavan for a function. And he said, okay, so what is the function all about? I said, about this thing. He said, do you know how a heart works? I said, yes. Auricle, ventricle, this, that, and all. He said, okay, what is new happening in the heart technology? I said, stent, balloon, blah, blah, blah. He said, no, tell me something more. So by now I was prepared. So I said, 1, 2, 3, 4. He said, no, you study and come back to me in the night. I said, okay. And he was a late sleeper. So he used to read a lot of books, research, etc., etc. So I go back in the night after the function at around 11 o'clock. And he said, okay, yes, blue guy, because I was in my blue uniform, Air Force uniform. He said, yeah, what have you learned? So I told him all stent technology, anything I could Google about in the 45th page. I read everything and I told him something. He said, no, you're not prepared. What is this? I said, sir, I don't know. He said, okay, tomorrow morning before the function, you brief me. I said, okay, sir. I went back, burned the midnight oil, came down in the morning. He said, okay. And he remembered. He said, okay, what about that? So I told him this. He said, okay, so then what happens to that particular thing? Then he went into the function and he lectured those heart specialists of the world, so-called heart specialists of the world, about the things they did not know. And after the function got over, these heart specialists came over and told me, how do you deal with this fellow? He knows more than us. So you can imagine the environment I was working in.
Yeah, it's almost
they were,
it's like
man.
bullying at
Yes.
least slightly because he's a super brain and subjects that are close to his heart. You
but
ultimately
but then he would teach you. If he knows that, okay, he said, okay, don't worry. This was just to teach you. This is how it happens. Delta A, delta D, entropy, energy, etc., etc. He would teach. It was a very effective.
So you earned his respect because he must have thought that you wouldn't know much about anything, but you actually did. And then you would go back and try and do the homework and come back and take the challenge up. So I'm saying you must have earned his respect intellectually from that point of view also.
You have to. There was no way out of it. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
And people
Dr.
thought the
Kalam
pressure was
like,
looking after the president as in defense. No. Much more. Sorry, Silvery.
Yeah, so Dr. Kalam seemed like a person who would never lose his school. Is that right? The
He didn't lose his
something
school.
Like
he just liked to,
he would never lose school. Yeah. No, but I understood that. But he would is it true to say that he would never lose his school? Like, is it?
Yeah, he would never. I mean, he had his mannerisms, So he would if he's angry at Silvery, he would say, Silvery is a good guy, huh? He's a good guy. So we knew that he does not mean good guy, He knew that he wants to say that he's not a good fellow, so avoid him or try to reduce the time.
It is not fair. If he's angry with Silvery, he should ask him to explain the entire heart, left, right, and center, ventricle to everything. That's the punishment.
That was his personality. He was like that.
Ankur,
I haven't seen him angry. Yeah.
But did you ever feel like, honestly, I'm asking you, because you must have relatives who are asking for favors all the time, sir. Itna influential aadmi ban gaya abhi, second man to the president. I mean, one phone call. So, any cousin or something say, boss, meko promotion chahiye, ye mamla hai, ye issue hai. Can you talk to the president? Has anyone done that?
At least 1 million requests from everybody in the world.
How do you deal with that?
Yes. Well, diplomatically tried.
I can imagine the closer
somebody is genuinely in need. Of course, we would go out of our way to help. There have been cases, people, randomly, even as of maybe a week back, coming and telling me, sir, you help my brother get some medical help in somewhere in the Northeast, and I'm very grateful because he's gone to MIT now and doing all this. So I won't even remember, frankly speaking. I mean, we were loaded and mobiles were very,
I would have made so much money, Silvery. If I was the ADC, I would have he could do it without even telling the president. Firstly, let's face it, he has enough networking going on. So that could be done in the name of the president. And can you imagine how many favors, small, marmally favors. Nobody asks big favor.
Correct.
Medical seat in a college, that kind of thing. Nobody's asking for something huge. But I'm sure it could have been done. I feel you missed that opportunity.
नहीं वो हमें पता था आप किससे पैसे बनाओगे तो वो स्ट्रेट हो जाओ तो.
Okay, before we go now into the what's happening now in your life question.
A little bit about Pratibha Patil too,
exactly.
Sir, if you could.
What was she like?
She was the first women president, and of course, to be very frank and fair to her, she had a big shoes to fill in because everybody in the world knew Dr. Kalam.
Compared to,
and it was a direct comparison, which was not fair. And if you look at presidents before Dr. Kalam, I'm not saying they were good or bad. But Dr. Kalam was himself his own marketing person. People knew this was Silvery's generation, Cyrus's generation, my generation, who grew up looking at him, and India became a superpower because of the nuclear explosion, jiska anniversary we just celebrated yesterday, and all those things. So it was a big shoe to fill in, but she did remarkably well. In fact, a lot of people don't know what she has done when she was in Maharashtra. Your toll system has been started by her. Municipal corporation has been started by her. She would have been the chief minister of Maharashtra, but for political reasons. She was deputy chairperson in Rajya Sabha, and she was a very tough administrator. Don't go by the looks. It was not like that. Even bigwigs would not enter her office because she was very, very tough.
She was more hands-on than what we have been told about her. She was hands-on.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And she was very hardworking. I mean, for visits and for functions, she was very hardworking. She would go, I would say, out of her way to study about something which she would feel that she should know more about. And I would say full marks to her for her hard work and dedication for what she did. I mean, yes, there were press controversies, but they are press controversies. Things don't affect the office of the President of India for that.
But like you said, Dr. Kalam was, challenging you and had that side to him where it seemed to be competitive. The human being away from the President was competitive enough to say, "Ki boss, pata hai, nahi pata hai," and go from there. Did she do anything like similar, or was there a certain personality?
So with her, it was also a lot to do with, I would say, political activities or policy-related decision-making, which, because she was a political figurehead before she joined as president, she was well aware of how the politics works in all scenarios, maybe international and in India. So that was a challenge for us because we being in uniform, we're not bothered about politics. What happens? Really not bothered. Ki kya karna hai. There was a challenge because now there was an extra thing to study for us. We need to know equations, how things work in states and parliaments and all those things. So, and she being a woman, of course, she was more motherly. She was very caring and would know more about our families than anybody else. So that was a good relief gesture, I would say.
So she would ask about your well-being, about whether you've eaten, taken food, that kind of thing also.
Yes, absolutely.
And of course, the Marathi bond will also be there, especially when you're in some strange country and all, a little bit of
unfortunately, my Marathi is as good as yours. Or Sinhalese maybe. Because my father was in the Air Force. And I changed 9 schools in 12 years. So when she spoke to me in Chase Marathi, I had to reply to her in English and she used to make fun of me. Arey Baba, Marathi mate bol. So I said, okay.
I could have kept that job then, it looks like. Yeah. All said and done. Yeah. All right. We're running out of time and we want to take a couple of questions. Before that, I just want to ask you, now where are you? What are you doing now at the moment? Because I've read a lot of stuff about you, but you tell us.
Yeah. So to have fun in life, I'm playing golf. I'm doing travel and adventure and skydiving, etc.
How can golf? I don't get this, yaar. You're flying at 10,000 miles per hour, low. I'm avoiding objects with all that pressure. How can golf be exciting? It's one small ball which you hit after hours.
One kink of a fighter pilot is the competitive spirit. So whatever you make him do, he will not let you win. So this is something which I picked up. That is why I play golf too. That spirit. So that's the king which every fighter pilot has to learn.
Dr. Kalam didn't know this about you, huh? Ki fighter pilot to hai, so he'll die trying. He's not going to give up. Yeah.
That is one inherent trait which you need to have all the time. So for making money, a little bit of money, I do air charters around the world, make planes fly here and there with cargo or humans and make money out of it. But otherwise, as pro bono activities.
That's how he said with cargo or humans. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Don't be happy. Who cares? I will now go at full speed. Yeah.
Well, I've moved whales, dolphins, elephants, everything. So
wow.
But in planes, like whales in planes.
Yeah.
Wow. So
can you imagine the economy?
Carry like massive containers and
whales are today a whale can afford a ride in a aeroplane and you and I can't. Just think how bad
Otherwise. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying a book is necessary. We haven't been able to find it. There's so many small details that are so interesting, colorful details which are coming out here and there. You were saying, sorry.
Otherwise, what is very close to my heart is sustainability. Of course, big word to use, but small things matter. So part of an organization which actually brings up all this parali which burns up in northern India and creates pollution right up to Madhya Pradesh now. Maybe we'll be reaching Bombay very soon. We converted it into energy, steam, electricity, blah, blah, blah. So as to ensure that we have a cleaner environment and future. I also work for a company which is into online psychometric assessment and mental health assessment, which is a huge leconine part of in Indian system wherein kisi ko bolo mujhe problem hai to tu pagal hai. Very easy. Like the way you used to make bakra out of people. So we try to see that.
Don't put it on me, yaar. This is society problem. It's a stupid TV show.
No, not so stupid. I was a big fan of it. Big fan of it that time, of course. I continue to do it.
The pilots of India liked our show. Write it down.
So we do it, and it's creating a lot of waves because a lot of people do not want to have a human element when they tell somebody basic depression problem.
To open up.
We've seen a lot of lives being lost during Corona, which we want to avoid. That is something I'm looking at. I also look after an organization called Cyber Peace Foundation. We are trying to bring peace into cyber activities. Wherever you feel any trouble, where you've been lost, we are losing money out of either Jupiter Bank or any other bank you represent, you let me know, we will help you sort it out.
Jupiter Bank is our savior. Let me be very clear. It's our savior. It's the normal bank, the land transactions which are the problem and all the processes that go through. But I have a suggestion also to help with the energy conservation, pollution conservation, which is part of your organizations. Why don't we get the mantris to go on cycles instead of going in big convoys of cars and all that? They'll also get fit that way.
What we're doing, Cyrus, is that all this agri waste which comes out is free. Actually, all the farmers burn it because there is no place for them to store it. So we're converting them into ethanol. That ethanol can be put into your car or bike. Use it. It's free. The byproduct is only water. It's only water. Right. Nothing else will come out.
It's alcohol related, ethanol.
Yeah. Absolutely. Same thing which you drink, but in a
that's what I was just trying to see because I can see a couple of boys stopping on the highway and drink ho jaye. Sorry. Let's get into that.
You're the people pleaser, right? Or then desperately seeking the one? Oh wait, You're the one who doesn't think they're ever good enough. So much drama. And for what? Is it doing you any good? Listen to me. I'm Chetna, your favorite positive action coach. Yes, I'm the one who has been dropping all those truth bombs on every episode. And it's time you learn to say no to drama. That's also what my podcast is called. And a new episode is out every Monday and Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, as well as all major podcasting platforms.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me.
Okay, let's take a couple of questions. We are nearly running out of time,
please.
Silvery.
All right, sure. This first one comes in from Namit Kaur. So we have some, over the years, we have gathered some like army or Air Force related questions. So these are all around that. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Hey, can I ask one quick one, Silvery? I want to ask him
yes,
because it's on record then. And I have some friends in the forces, so I love this conversation. So which is the best one? Out of the three, which is the best one?
What do you think is my answer?
Yeah, Air Force.
By the way, I'm also Lieutenant Colonel in the Territorial Army now. Okay, I'm serving Lieutenant Colonel in the Territorial Army.
But that's like an honorary post. You're actually in.
I'm actually in that.
Wow. Okay, so when the plane comes down, he takes this job. Then he goes back up. Okay, let's take it.
All right. Yeah. This first one comes in from Namit Kaur, who says, "Hi, Cyrus and dear guest. Sending this message along with my sister Namita. Yes, those are our names, Namit and Namita. As we are both huge fans of the show." He says, "Our question is, do you ever think about the kind of pressures and mental stress our armed forces and personnel go through when they're on the field? I don't think enough people talk about it, but it's one of the things that's always on my mind whenever someone brings up the army. Wanted to know what you think about this."
Of course, there's a huge stress. Imagine being away from your dogs and your family and your kids for a long time, Cyrus. You know?
Yeah. You've obviously done your homework, sir.
Too much.
Super answering.
Wow.
Yeah, when the dog came first,
Great.
I got it immediately. Yes.
Yeah. So we leave an entire generation, away. Especially for the army people, I feel a lot for them. Now that I'm in the army, I can see them doing this. And difficult terrains, difficult inhospitable conditions where they stay in and have to mentally alert to be able to defend the nation. There's a huge amount of stress which is not mapped, which is not taken away even after you come down to peace stations, so-called peace stations per se. Even after you leave the job, that stress continues because you've seen and been in those situations which maybe yes haunt you throughout your life. So there is a stress wherever and whatever he or she is doing. Somebody who has served in uniform all the time, every time.
Two parts to it also. I think there's stress and there's loneliness. So I think he's talking about when they're on outposts, we are far away, stuck with just the boys or whatever for long periods of time. I think that's another. Because of pandemic, people have empathized better with that. You suddenly realize what it's like to be isolated, to be away, to not be able to get in touch, all that. But what about the pseudo Indians who go on talking about army greaters, but they themselves will never lift their finger to do anything militarily or physical action of any kind. But they like to bang their chest and say Pakistan ko maro, China ko maro, this, that, and the other.
Very easy solution है उनको बंदूक देके वहाँ पे खड़ा कर देने का जाओ.
That's what I say. Absolutely, that's exactly what I say. Really, then they'll 2 days, 48 hours in Siachen or one of these places, and then we'll know just how tough they really are. Exactly.
You just need to put them on a shooting range and let a bullet whiz past their ear. That is more than enough.
So, it was such a sensitive show, and now look at what he and me are planning for the citizens of India.
How to get back at them.
Yeah.
All right. Next question comes in from Eshani Talkar, who says, "Hi, Cyan guest. I know you are quite well versed about history, Cyrus. The Second World War was a period where a lot of our current war stories and legends were born. What part of the Second World War would you like to see a movie on if you could? Hope this question does not seem insensitive."
The Indian effort is not spoken of enough. Sadly, not even by the Indian. Generally, we're so jingoistic or patriotic, this is the right word. But when it comes to Second World War and First World War, Indian effort is not talked about at all. There's lots of soldiers we have given to the Allied cause, including laying down their lives in all kinds of foreign fields, so far away. There's some lovely poems and all out there in different languages. Speaking on it, that you'll start crying if you listen to them. I'm a guy born in Punjab in an obsolete village, and then he has to die in France, Flanders or something in First World War. I mean, it's just how does a kid growing up there land up there fighting somebody else's war against somebody else who he probably 3 to 4 years before did not know they existed. So I don't know if you agree with me, but I feel we've not really gone into that side of the role we played and foreign armies played for the big players.
So actually, it's not been marketed well, I would say. And the more reason was because we were still a British Air Force. We are not an Indian Air Force in the Second World War. Indian Air Force only started in 1952. So we played a huge role in the campaign as far as East India is concerned. There were huge aircraft missions which were flown purely by Indian aviators. A lot of them being by Marshal of the Air Force Arjun Singh, and a lot of people. Marshal of the Air Force Arjun Singh is of course known by everyone, but a lot of other people who also flew huge amount of sorties in aircrafts which were not even worth taxing on ground. So the kind of innovations they did, the kind of bombs they put on the aircraft, how they were strapped and how they were released, even with the aircraft which did not have engine, is a huge story in itself.
Once you're saying like racism, they were given the inferior aircraft?
No, nothing like that. I mean, the kind of machines they were flying those days, Second World War machines,
generally speaking,
were of course very rudimentary machines. They had an engine and a wing to fly on. Anything.
This is a great question that comes from that question. Then you know how we compare eras in sports and all, say Tendulkar versus Gavaskar versus Merchant, Virat versus Dhoni. Can you compare? Would you say that a pilot who was a crack pilot in World War II in those kind of planes and those situations would have been a crack pilot in 2022?
So there are two different generations of planes which are being flown now. Those generations were the planes where the aircraft had to be flown by the pilot, physically. It was the pressure of the wind, the atmosphere, etc., etc. Now the aircrafts are basically managed by machines and computers. So it's a lot of it's a challenge because it's a lot more to manage now. There are weapon systems, there are radars, there are a lot of thousands of switches left, right to you, and system is going haywire or failing or whatever it is. But the actual seat of the pants flying was in the Second World War because you just had a gun below you. Fly karo, goli maro, opposite. Now you have a gun.
And you're balancing the plane and fighting against the other planes, etc.
So a lot of generations of fighter flying now is on autopilot. So it helps.
Ankur, I know you're not going to tell us, but just tell me one thing. What do you think of? You can't tell us about actual battle, but what do you think of when it's that situation? What is in your mind? Just tell. I'd love to know this. What is in your mind? I'm trying to think. What could you be thinking when you've got this kind of? I mean, there's nothing bigger in life than this. What is in Ankur's mind?
So I'll tell you. Before we actually go for a live mission, we have lived that mission for at least a month. You can just wake me up out of the sleep and say, okay, go and do this activity. I can actually do it in my sleep. So there is that much amount of a preparedness which is happening before you actually do it. You are aware of everything which is going to happen there. While you're doing that mission, there is nothing. The aim is to basically either bomb that target or save your own vital institution. There is nothing else. There is no other emotion. Because if you have any other emotion, I told you what speeds we fly. There is no chance for any error. If you even think कि मेरे dog ने आज खाना खाया कि नहीं खाया, you're gone. That is the time.
Comes back to me. No, I was just thinking of, again, cricket analogy, Sehwag School of Art, or Chris Gale, those type of guys who just keep the mind blank, keep it simple. He's singing a Kishore Kumar song in his head and trying to play the ball on instinct. Or more like a Tendulkar who's got a computer brain, who's able to see the different scenarios of where the ball will pitch and what shot he will offer on that particular point. So I was just trying to see whether there's some sort of process, because this is, you have to have really, this is courage beyond courage, right? Your blood has to be cold, your veins have to be cold, you have to be sort of calm, and what you're saying is now is even more difficult because you're trying to figure out all the panels that you're controlling at the same time and decisions you're making on the spot in a less than quarter of a second, all that, which any error can cause trouble and all that. So there's no, you just do it like a normal day, whether it's the most difficult battle of your life, it's just like a normal day. You just get into the plane.
That is why we practice these scenarios every day. Every day these scenarios are practiced when there is no war.
Wow. Silver, you think you could have been a fighter pilot? What a job it would have been. I mean,
I told you I almost went into the NDA, man. Yeah.
You didn't even get into Panchgani. Where we went anywhere further than that. Don't talk nonsense. Really. Yeah. Chalo,
right.
ek aur?
The last question. Yes. The last one comes in from Jaideep Prasad, who says, "Hey Cyrus and dear guest, I am from Jaipur and have been listening to the podcast for the last 4 years. Keep up the hilarious work." He says, my question is one, I'd love to hear you guys discuss. What's your favorite movie about the Army/Navy, Air Force, war, or any of the armed forces, etc.? Mine is, he says, Saving Private Ryan, because of the humanity at display in all the characters. Would love to know what you like in the genre.
Hey, Bollywood later on started making interesting films like Border and all that.
Recently.
Yeah, there you go. So it started getting a little more interesting. In the historical epics have got more accurate and all. But initially, I think, what is it, that Rajendra Kumar, that in the old days, what we used to see in black and white and all, some of them, I mean, the guy would have a bandage on the left hand and 2 minutes later, the bandage on the right hand. It was like that. It was nowhere close to the real stories. But let's ask Ankur. Ankur, what is your...
Of course, without a doubt, Top Gun is one of the movies which...
Top Gun.
But he's a fighter pilot, yeah.
Yeah, of course. First day, first show jayega.
Yes. Arre, nice. Arre, great.
And there is a movie called Behind Enemy Lines, which you should see, which is a real life movie.
Owen Wilson. Yes.
Yeah,
very, very good movie.
There is one movie. There is a movie by Shashi Kapoor's son. What was his name? Which has been
Karan Kapoor.
Kunal Kapoor. Kunal Kapoor. Kunal Kapoor. Where he did a movie which was based on NDA and then fighter flying thereafter, which very real life depiction of what happens in the academy and thereafter. That is one movie which will come very close to what we do in the forces. They are my favorite movies.
Mine is slightly older. I remember Dirty Dozen. I don't know if you all have seen that. Oh, that's great. Have you seen Escape to Victory?
Yeah,
they're all escape movies, basically. Yeah.
Behind Enemy Lines is an escape movie, by the way. He's trying to, his plane crashes behind enemy lines and he has to make his way back. Very interesting.
Then I like the biopic on Steve Waugh. It's also a war movie because that's his name, but
war movie.
So I apologize. Please don't fly your plane. Calm down, Ankur, please. Okay. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us. If there's a book or if you're doing a seminar, we'll be there. It's very interesting. I think a fighter pilot's life. I know the reward of being a fighter pilot is beyond money and all. I think because the rush that you have, you can't even tell us because we will not understand. And I feel really jealous slightly. Honestly, I'm telling you, I feel really jealous that what you must have done, what you've experienced, what you have seen, and what you've come through. It's just like special. Not everybody's not going to have that life. So lucky you, sir. And Silvery, what would you like to say as a failed cadet?
Namaste.
No. I would tell you, even Dr. Kalam was a failed cadet. So there is always a scope to become the president.
Hey, I'm going to be the next president of India.
Failure is very good. You fail somewhere, you'll succeed somewhere else. That's normally oh God, what did you say? Next president of India? Bandro, shut this podcast down now. The country is reeling as it is.
To actually calm down, what I do is also do research-based digital restoration of Ajanta caves. These caves which are falling down, we do high-speed and high-resolution photography and then restore them pixel by pixel. That particular project is picked up by the government of India now and a lot of things are happening. So you have to calm down and you have to get that rush. Both things together works very well. Silvery?
Thank you, sir.
Silvery, I think he's a bit of an overachiever. Better we don't discuss what we do. This is what glass, bottle, which is also what they do from time to time.
You guys are doing a great job. Great job. Great job over the years. I'm really a good fan of yours, and the best quality I like about you is making fun of yourself. That is a very, very rare quality which people in this world possess. Keep it up and continue to do so.
Because Silvery, learn from the master, and by master I mean Ankur, not me.
Yes, correct. I agree.
Okay, guys, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much. And is it possible, as we say bye, is it possible to go on one of these fancy MiG-21s or whatever? Can you take us for a ride? Can that be ever?
Well, that's very sad. That used to happen in Ukraine, and you know what is happening in Ukraine now.
Sorry. Man. Okay. That's dark humor for you to end the show. I'm just saying, if whales or dolphin ko bithaya gadi mein, but we are not getting an opportunity. Just want to say, fair enough. Okay. Yeah. All right, Squadron Leader, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And I have to read something as we say bye. Don't forget to download the Jupiter Money app on the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And we say thanks to a former Squadron Leader, ex-ADC. And now, of course, he's doing 250 different things. He's all over the place. Plus, he's in the Territorial Army serving as a colonel as we speak, which is fabulous.
Yep.
All right. I will do what I do normally. I walk my dogs. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter, on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Don't you think that if everyone around you is getting smart, you better be smarter? Hey there, I'm the traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh and I'm back with season 2 of my podcast to make you smarter. Smarter with Sid. What's this season's focus about? Well, it's about 10-minute nuggets that will